Hey everybody, this is Doc Mack from the Galloping Ghost Arcade out in Brookfield, Illinois. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2019.
You don't sound sure about that.
Oh, I'm never sure of it. I get in here so early, it's, by the time I leave, it's all one long day, week, month, year. Time's flying by so quick. But thank you all for being here for the Galloping Ghost Arcade podcast, or the Galloping Ghost podcast, I guess we should say. Who knows what we'll cover. Joined as always by former Gamer of the Year, Pete Hahn.
What's up? How are you doing, everyone? Glad to be on again. It's been a few weeks, so we want to get back to doing this more regularly, and hopefully we can make it a streak.
Yes. We were going pretty good there.
We're.
But
Yeah.
we'll get back on track. There's so much always going on. Sometimes we have to miss it. Always so happy to have very cool guests. And with us today is none other than Scott Lambert of the Underground Retrocade. One of the premier arcades out there.
I'm not Scott Lambert.
What?
I'm not Scott Lambert.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Yeah,
All right.
Ken?
Is that you?
that's me.
We've made a terrible mistake here today. It's Master Tech.
Pinball Tech.
Of Pinball, Ken Walker. Well, I wasn't prepared to talk to you.
No. We should probably get the...
Yes, let's
the
bring in
correct
the
guy.
real Scott Lambert, the one, the only.
You don't put the two of us on at the same time?
Well, that would ruin the
Ruin
the magic.
I just said that was a quick change.
Yes.
Able to change the
yes.
clothes real quick. How's that? Well, if this will screw up the mic. If I move that against
As long as it
there.
doesn't fall, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be all right. Oh, but I have to be right here, don't I?
About, yeah, you
right.
can move up a little bit if you
Awesome.
want.
Scott, thank you so much for actually being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Always a pleasure to be here.
You are the owner, of course, of the Underground Retrocade.
Last time I checked.
Been a friend, and I've been a fan of your place for the longest time. So
Likewise.
that's I'm always so impressed with what you do and the story of just your whole story. It's you've been doing a phenomenal job. We're so happy to have you here.
You made it easy for us. You blazed a path. We just kind of followed you on down the road.
Well, you opened. What year did you open?
2012.
2012.
June of 2012.
So that was like you were right there at the start with with us, and
Pretty close. You guys were going almost 2 years, I think, at that point.
So were you thinking about opening an arcade before we came along? Was it in the back of your head?
Not before you came along. Certainly, I had gone looking to play at an arcade somewhere, and it was early enough in your existence that you weren't the first people to pop up in the search, right? You weren't the big name. I found Logan Hardware, and that was just, kind of too much of a drive really to get down there. And then it was at the time that Logan Hardware was doing their thing. It wasn't really certain that you could get back into the arcade area. You had to buy something in the record store, and it was just kind of all hush hush. So there was no guaranteed thing, and it really was probably 9 months before a buddy of mine heard about you and put together a group, and we all came out on a weeknight. And it was like, well, how about that? And then it was, started coming monthly, started coming weekly.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to go down that rabbit hole.
and I remember the first time I was really talking was at one of the wiring classes.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's kind of laid into it, right? That's well after your second anniversary, right? Second anniversary was in August, and you were doing the wiring class in January. And by that point, No Limit had opened, which had delayed us because right after I came in here and got the addiction and started watching and seeing how many people really were interested in this sort of thing, and I could see that resurgence was coming,
Yeah.
right? And you were way on the bleeding edge of it. I'm like, this is going to fly, and if this is, I missed all these other opportunities. Now this is the one I want to grab onto. So probably September or so of that time period, I wrote up a business plan and started researching what we were going to do to get ourselves open. Saw No Limit was coming and put everything on hold because they were in the next town over. And we wanted to see, there's no reason everybody has to kind of fight for space, so we waited to see what they would do. And they got open and we saw what they were doing. It was like, well, I don't think that we're necessarily crossing over. They were kind of more selling stuff, really, than being an arcade to play at. And the stuff that they did have to play, they had a lot of DDR and newer gun games, and they had kind of a pinball focus at the very first. And they were marketing towards high school kids and trying to do dance parties. And I'm like, at that point, I'm 40-something. I'm like, I don't want to go hang out at the high school kid dance party place. I want to go and play with the guys my age playing my games. So we put the gears back in motion. And I was doing contract work at the time, and my contract was about to end. So that made me free to go and do a bunch of stuff. So it came and took the wiring class. Came down, got a week pass, I think. It came every day and started doing head counts and really getting into the real part of what it's going to take to get open. And that was February of 2012. Last week of February 2012, bought my first 5 games. And then every day for the next month, I bought a game.
What
Wow.
were your first 5 games?
First 5. Donkey Kong, Ms. Pac-Man, Capcom Bowling, Millipede, and Golden Tee 97. Of all of those games, the only one that worked was Golden Tee.
Yeah.
It fixed everything else.
Were they just a package deal, or
It was. There was a collector who the lady had built her new house, and they were out in the garage, and she just wanted the space. So she put the package deal together, and I bit. Which is silly, because I got creamed on that one. I paid
Knowing what you know now?
Yeah, knowing what I know now,
Yeah.
I paid way more than I should have for those games. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's
What-
just learning.
What? And I know we're limited on time, as you've got to get.
Yep.
Gotta get over
People
there.
want to
get
come out and
open.
play today at 5 o'clock. I got to get out of here at some point.
Like, so if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and we will ask them as we go. So you've got to be out by 4.
Yeah, I
Hard
better
4
be on
o'clock,
the road at 4 o'clock. Otherwise, there'll be people standing at the door.
We don't
Not
want that.
happy. No, we don't.
Yeah.
We want that a little bit. We certainly want people that really want to get in, but I'd hate to have people waiting for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
If they do wait, they could go down there it's 3 o'clock, so it doesn't do them any good. Because the thing that's really cool about our location is we got all sorts of stuff around us, right? We've got craft donuts and coffee right across the street. We've got this fantastic new pizza place next door. We're surrounded by a bunch of different bars that cater to different styles. So there's always something to do in the historic district, and there's a ton of parking. So park your car in the back. and
What's that pub
spend
across the
day.
street?
Emmett's.
Oh, that
It's
place
right
is
across the
delicious.
street.
Yeah,
Yes,
I went there last
They're
time.
their own brew club place. They
Yeah.
make their specialty is like a beer cheese kind of soup, which is
Yes.
amazing.
It's delicious.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong. There's so many things around us to really enjoy the whole area.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That definitely is a huge plus, having good surrounding places. And just to get it out there, where can people follow you and see what's going on? And
Well, we're on Facebook, of course, Underground Retrocade, and we've got our website, undergroundretrocade.com, and we've got an Instagram thing that I probably have posted one thing to in the last 5 years. But those are the key ones. We don't do a lot of streaming because our internet connectivity isn't really enough to give you a good stream, but we do what we can.
I'm going to post links to your Facebook in the chat so people can follow those.
and
And your website also.
got a question ready from Prestige. What is your favorite game to play, and what's your favorite game to fix?
Well, so I don't like fixing any of them, but I fix what I have to. Some are easier than others, certainly, and I guess I would like those more than the ones that are difficult to fix. But I'll give you our most recent fix story. Friday before last, as we're going into, we're right there in the Thanksgiving weekend,
Yeah.
right? And somebody comes over and they're like, the Star Wars you can't go up and down on, the Star Wars vector game. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I thought, how bad could it be? Maybe just the wire came off of the pot, and I'll solder it and we'll be good. I open it up, and the gear has cracked. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And people ask all the time, how hard is it to get parts? And usually the response is, most of the parts are standard. We can get almost all the easy component stuff, and it's not the end of the world when something gets broken. But boy, when I saw that shattered gear, I'm like, oh, this is going to take some time. And then I remembered there's a guy in Crystal Lake who was making these joystick parts. And he also, if you're on Facebook and some of the Facebook arcade groups, you'll see that he's almost reproducing brand new cabinets from scratch, right? He's got a Jedi that he just put out for sale, and Paperboy he just put out for sale. And he's in the $4,000 to $5,000 range, but his his reproductions are just exquisite. They're perfect. So I call him up. It's like 10 o'clock on a Friday. I'm like, hey, dude, you wouldn't happen to have this 14-tooth gear for a Star Wars? He's like, hang on a second. He's like, yeah, you want me to run it over?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so that gives you a sense of the community that exists here with arcade collecting. If it wasn't for each other and all the kind of guys like that, because you would have been my second call,
It's
we
funny,
probably couldn't be that way.
About a month ago, I found a bag of 20 of those gears.
Did you really?
It was like,
So he offered to bring it over. My son actually lives right down the street from him, so I sent my kid over to get it, and we had the game back up by 11 o'clock that night with another original, gear in it. And then Paradise Arcade remanufactures them, and they make them completely out of aluminum, so it's never going to break. So I ordered one that came in the week later. I have that one now, so I can make it indestructible.
it's awesome.
It is. It was a relief. At first I thought maybe I can scavenge something. My dad's a machinist, so if I need something made, he could probably grind me out of gear. But getting it back up to complete that Thanksgiving weekend, since there's so much traffic on that weekend, it was really important to get that game back. And with
Star
the
Wars
resources
such
we
a-
And
have
Star Wars
now-
is hot, yeah.
Yeah,
Star Wars
everybody
is
wants to
certainly,
play Star
everybody
Wars.
wants to play Star Wars. At least once. Kind of like Defender. Do you have Defender? Yes. And they play it once, and then it's too hard, and they go play something else.
It is hard.
Yeah. That's why everybody asks, do you have Stargate? No, why not? Because I have Defender. I'm only going to have one. If you want to play both, you know where to go. Doc has them all. And this is how it works. I mean, I've got my mix, and you certainly fill in all the gaps that I certainly can't satisfy, and that's okay.
How do you determine what is going to be on the floor? Like,
It's primarily about what I like to play personally. It's my curated
It's the same for both
collection
you.
of stuff I like. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just maybe I'm a little more narrow. I'm not as wide facing as you. Like a lot more games certainly than I do, because I'm kind of focused on a certain point in time, and I've opened up really since I started doing this with the games that I like. Partly because I come here and see stuff that I've never played before, and then it's like, oh yeah, we got to get this.
what was a game that you saw that you were just like, I gotta have that?
I gotta have that. Oh man, I probably should have thought that through before I said it. Think of something up on the second floor. Probably like one of the Raiden Fighters games.
Yeah.
So anything on the shmup wall is something I would never have touched.
Yeah.
But then seeing the games you have, and then getting the feedback from the guys who are into the shmup scene, pretty much defines what we put on our shmup wall.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. Shout out to Jamie Tibbetts for that, because Jamie and
He was the factor.
he's our guy. Yeah. If there's something out there that he says you have to have this, then we try and find a way to make sure we
Cool.
have it.
Awesome. Dead Body Thief is asking where's your arcade located?
Yep.
Specifically.
West Dundee popped up. So yeah, West Dundee is a far northwest suburb. If you ever go out I-90 from Chicago, from downtown to the airport, if you went just as far as you did to the airport, further out, that's how far out we are, right on 90, just past the Fox River Bridge, which is that really big bridge. Way out.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Awesome.
Man.
And I know you've got like a fair amount of pins too.
We have 15 pins on the floor, and most of the time we're able to have them all up. We've got a couple down right now, but I mean, that's pinball for you.
Yeah.
We do what we can to raise awareness of what it takes to keep the machines up, so folks can leave something for someone else to play and not play it all themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be a struggle, but it's pinball.
Yeah.
They are designed to wear out and be maintained, and that's what we do. Do the best we can to stay on top of that maintenance.
And you always do. So every time I go out there, like, it's one of those things that really pushes us. It's every time I go out, your monitors always look great.
I think it's probably easier for us than you, because we're not open as many hours, right? You have daytime hours during the week, which we don't have. And just by kind of managing the hot, cold, and uptime cycles makes it a little easier, I think, on keeping our machines in good shape.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
How often are, like, what was the last game that you added?
The last game I added, I wrote all these down right before I came out. We added 2 games at the same time. They were both skee-ball machines.
Yeah.
And everybody in the community said, skee-ball, are you out of your mind? As it was, we all know how frustrating pinball can be, and they thought that skee-ball would be worse. I mean, imagine pinball where you could take the ball out of the game.
Right.
What kind of problems could that cause? And we kind of went. I mean, everybody asked for skee ball, and nobody else had it. I'm like, well, it is a fun thing. My sister likes it. There's just everybody kind of wants skee ball, so we gave it a shot, and people have been really cool about it.
It seems like people are really taking to like getting the high score on that.
They are.
It's a contest.
It is. Most people want to do something with the scoring, and skee ball, especially when the games were new, it was an attainable score. If you work the scoring down the middle, the high score lane down the middle is 5,000, and then you've got these two pockets that are 10,000. So with 9 balls, you should be able to hit 45,000 pretty easily. Anything over 45 becomes it. It took a little while to get past that 45 score, but now I think we're up to 69,000 is the highest. And we had the high score change 3 times on a Saturday, and now the pressure is kind of off because that 69, you have to have at least 2 or 3 of those 10s to make that work. So it's
That's kind of cool.
People got to practice, and you can do it for sure.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a fun game. It's certainly a fun game. Getting people to understand that there's 2 lanes and you want to keep the balls in your lane, because throwing it down the other guy's lane doesn't do him or you any good, and it gets the
It's like
machines
bowling.
out of whack. It is like bowling, and it's just understanding those courtesies. It's always an educational process.
Doc, would you consider getting one of those for us? Just for the scoring aspect and not the redemption aspect?
I would not. Not that
Okay.
I don't enjoy skee ball, but it was. I've got my.
It's a lot of space, too, for...
It's a lot of space.
They're really big for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just a different. It's different. It's like we try to stay in our wheelhouse of being just video
Video,
games, and like we don't even have pinball over there anymore, so it's all very separated. And
Gotcha.
I think it's also cool to have stuff like that at different locations. Like Pixel
definitely.
Blast has their air hockey table, and it's those differences. It's what kind of stirs everybody around, and it's things like that going to arcades back in the day, like each had its own unique things that they did in different atmospheres, and you're doing it and doing it well. Like,
Yeah,
why?
We give
You're the
everybody a
go-to
reason
guy,
to move around. They should visit everybody.
Yeah.
And everything has something unique and special. When I'm not at my place, I'm probably at yours. I got the chance to go out and see Jeremy Fox at Prince Arcades a couple of weeks ago. Had a great time down there. I was out when he started, and then I've visited since, and it's like, he's constantly making improvements and doing cool stuff. He has all this amazing stuff on the walls.
Yeah.
His games are in beautiful condition. He's got stuff I've never seen before. He has a lot of game plan stuff that you don't see anywhere.
Right.
And I grew up in the town where Game Plan was manufacturing those games back in the day, so it's really cool to see that, make that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What have you thought? Like, again, you got in early. Like, what have you thought of all these people that are jumping on and trying and?
Good luck. If you have the passion for it and you're doing it because it's your passion, not because it's a gimmick, then you might be able to make something of it. Certainly there's a market for it out there. If there's any place in the country, Chicago is certainly a hotbed for arcade stuff. It was the hotbed back in the day because everything was made here.
Right.
And it's no surprise that it's, kind of in our DNA. So, give it a try. Have a plan.
Yeah.
Realize that as a collector, everyone's going to be playing your toys.
Yeah.
And that can be its own interesting challenge for sure.
Was that a challenge for you? Like,
It wasn't in the beginning, right? When I started doing this and I was buying the games, I was buying them specifically to open the business, and I wasn't really mentally a collector. It's just, these are our business assets, and they're going to be used for business, and that's as far as I really thought about it. And then we had the flood, had the opportunity to have a bunch of those games sit in my house for about 3 months, and got to play them, and really got in deep with the games. And coming back into our second location, I came at it mentally. I couldn't help but come at it as a collector, and that it has its own challenges, because now you really get on top of people who are beating on stuff, or at least not being as gentle as they could, and that's kind of nuts.
Any horror stories that you would share, or?
No, probably not that I would share. The folks out there,
They know who they are.
We're talking on this one, presumably would be that we're talking to our audience, so they all know. And as they're going through the arcade and they see people who maybe aren't into it as much or are there for the first time, they see the things that people do. And I mean, I got to tell you, my first or second visit to your arcade, I was playing Ms. Pac-Man and I gave the control panel a smack. And it was like, some dude was standing there and he gave me a dirty look, and it wasn't any of your people. So it was just some other guest. And I'm like, you're right, dude. I'm not 12 anymore. You can't hit these machines. It's not what you do with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it just educating people and getting them to have that respect for the games is what we do. Really, we try to do it gently. Maybe not so gentle as we could be, but, what are you going to do?
You get a question. I think it's directed
Dead
toward you,
body
Scott.
piece, yeah, with the flood. So in our first location, we had a very small basement that we stored some stuff in. Primarily what was in that basement was my old dirt bike collection and a couple of project cabinets. When the flood came, by the time we realized it was really going to be a problem, the water was about 24 inches deep.
Oh.
We'd already lost the bottoms of the whatever games were going to be down there, although we did tip stuff over on its side and get some games up out of the water. But all the bikes rusted up, and when the water went up, it went up all the way probably about 6 foot, and that brought it up to 6 inches below the main floor of the arcade.
Oh.
And at that point, it was coming up fast enough that we went and got a moving truck and we loaded all the games up and got them out of the building to make sure that the main floor wouldn't be breached and we wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
While we had the games out, that allowed us to really examine the condition that the building was in, and we could see that the roof was not going to hold up, and that was really where the primary water problems were going to be going forward. We gave the landlord an opportunity to do us right by that. He did not, so we exited. And that got us out of the first building. Took 3 months off to find a new location. Moved it, started right back up.
Nice.
I wish I could say we started up where we left off. We didn't. A couple of folks followed us, but primarily it was like starting from zero and doing it all over again.
And it has always been, just from what I've seen, difficult to move.
Mm-hmm.
Even I've seen arcades even within the same mall
Right?
just
Mhm.
have.
It's like, how could you not find me? That was the mentality when we were at. The landlords wouldn't let us put signage up saying we're 200 feet down the street. But we figured, they got to see us, right? And they didn't. Even to this day, now it's been 7 years, we get people come in. Oh, were you those guys? But yes, we were those guys. So,
Wow.
yeah, they're out there.
Is there any game? Prestige asking on Twitch. Is there any games or pinball tables that stand out based on popularity or usage?
Oh. Everybody has their game, I think. They'll come and they find it pretty quick, and they go off and play it, and then they'll start working their way around and playing the different stuff. We have our games arranged by manufacturer, so if you're looking for maze games, you're not going to wind up staying in one spot and playing all the same type of game. You're going to migrate throughout the building. A lot of our kind of 80s pre-crash stuff is on the first floor. We have 2 floors. The second floor is kind of grouped by game type, and we've got the fight and go rights together in a pod. We've got the gun games together down the wall, the shmups down the wall, and the fighting games down the wall. And now we've got an extra section where we put all the Brian Collin games together.
Cool.
To shout out his stuff. They used to be down together on the first floor, back where the skee ball was, but that was going to take up a lot of space, so we moved that all upstairs.
Your layout has always also stood out. Like you can see all
I really like
the
it.
side art. and
Yeah.
It's really awesome. It's really awesome. Again, I can't recommend enough going out and playing at Underground Retrocade. And it's you definitely have a darker atmosphere.
Yeah, we've had people complain. Usually it's grandmothers with their grandchildren. And it's like, it's too dark in here. And I'm like, well, that's how it was.
Yeah.
Back in the day, people didn't have their lights on. The lights being on in the arcade really didn't start happening until you got to the mall arcades.
Mhm.
And then that was kind of a more corporate, and they had all the lighting, and they wanted it to be safe and family friendly and all that stuff. And before that, that wasn't what it was. It was some dude maybe had a little bit of space, and he put all his games in there, and you threw quarters in as long as you could. But there were certainly no lights. And if there were any lights, maybe they were shaded in one way or another.
Or neons or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
What have you thought about all of the like the Exa arcade and any of the newer arcades that Play Mechanics, Raw Thrills are putting out?
Mhm.
Like, do you ever consider going with some of the newest stuff?
I haven't seen anything that's brand new that's super compelling and would make me want to pay brand new arcade prices. I mean, the vintage stuff certainly is starting to have premium pricing with it, but it's still more cost effective in allowing us to bring games to people than it is, paying $7,000 to $10,000 for the world's largest Space Invader, Pac-Man, whatever is the new thing with me. I've played them. I've seen people play them places, and it's great. They have an audience. Round one is out there, and they do an excellent job bringing that brand new stuff out. Fun Spot had that big Space Invaders game. Mm-hmm. That's cool. It's something to play. You throw a bunch of quarters in it. But for us, we've kind of got that sensory thing where you step through the door in my place and you're not now. And we're trying to kind of hold that together. Some of the newer games, they creep in and we just can't hide them. Like I've got a Dirt Dash, which is only 20 years old or so, from Namco, and it's there almost kind of like right where you walk in, right next to Black Knight Sword of Rage, which is also a brand new game. But once you get past it, it's pretty exclusively just the era-specific stuff for that floor.
Yeah. It's with obviously the scene has just exploded now. What's your with pricing of machines?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were opening, it was like $50 a cabinet.
Yeah.
And how I've seen people who are opening now, they're like, oh, this a couple years ago, it should be
every year
$200
higher and higher. Certainly, if somebody was going to try and do it today, they should certainly bring a boatload of cash. I know when I did the business plan for us, I think I had budgeted I had gone to eBay for my price source, so I was way budgeted up. I was like $1,200 a game, and maybe we'll have 40 games.
Yeah.
That never would have flown. But luckily, we learned how to buy very quick, and we're able to make that work. We got away from $1,200 a game real quick.
Are you still finding good deals? And
there are, I think, good deals out there. You might stumble across one, or somebody who's cool about it, and they just want to make sure it winds up in the right home. Kerry Chain is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Right. When he was shutting down, we had the privilege of going in and buying up about a third of his games, and that was huge for us. We were able to do a big thing that summer. We did a weekly game reveal, which was almost impossible. People watching, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, when you see Doc release a game on a weekly basis, it's hard to express what has to go into that. It's almost like you can't just have a game to present. You almost have to have the game and a backup for that, because stuff fails, and that's what certainly. I mean, I had bought 15 working games from Kerry, moved them here from Ohio, tested them, and they worked fine, and half of them didn't work on presentation day.
Yeah.
So that's just the way things work. So it's a miracle that you can pull that off every week, like clockwork, for 4 years now. That's insane.
It kind of is.
It is. People say, hey, is he going to run out of games? I'm like, I don't think you're going to run out of games, but wow.
It's more space than games now, I think.
Always, we've got plenty to work with. It is just space at this point, and trying to pick what's going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, when you're getting, when you're looking to put something up, and how often does that happen? How often are you getting that itch to?
We used to, for the first 3 or 4 years, we were able to do about 36 to 40 games a year. And then it slowed down in the last couple of years. I don't work a second job anymore, so I don't have that huge income stream. So it's just what the arcade is making and what deals I can find. That doesn't stop us from getting big ticket items. Certainly, Black Knight Sword of Rage was a big stack of money, but that was a game that really we couldn't pass up. It was a great deal, and people love it. They play it. It's probably the number one played game in the arcade, and sometimes you have to pay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you hunt games down, or is it?
It feels like if I'm on the hunt for some title in particular, it's not going to show up, and then the second I stop looking for it, it falls into my lap.
Yeah.
Right. Like we picked up a game that we haven't released yet that I've been looking for years.
Really?
And just nothing. And if every time I saw one, it was $800 to $1,200 for one that was probably going to fall apart the second I got it home.
What is it?
You can't say.
I can't say because it hasn't been released yet. And it's one of those games where it's like I want to release it, but I don't know if it will stand running 70 hours a week reliably.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't want to put it out if I know it's going to be down constantly. I won't put it out. Like I really pushed hard to get Omega Race out because I really wanted Omega Race for years, and I had 2 of them. And we put it out, and I had 2 board sets and 3 monitors, and we had to keep rotating the board sets and the monitors, and it still didn't stay up. It just could not get it to where it was reliable enough that people could count on it being there to play. So it is now in the back. Can I turn it on and play it? I suppose, but it doesn't do anybody good if they can't play it. So we don't count it as a game that we have, even though we have 2. Go figure.
Do you have any games that are at your house just for you? Or?
Folks that know me and have watched will see me play occasionally some pole position.
Yeah.
I have 1 pole position that I throw caution to the wind and turn on once a quarter. But
Do you pray every time?
I do, because you know it's going to go. I mean, when I got it, it would stay on and it would stay up. And now it's like if you turn it on, it's on for 45 minutes and then the screen starts to scramble, so you know it's got cold solders and all sorts of stuff that needs to be gone through. And I can put it with the other 6 that I have that all need to be gone through. I have 6 pole positions. It's maddening.
Wow.
I heard they were going to do an FPGA for that board
I'm
soon.
anxiously waiting because I will buy the first 6 of them.
Oh, yeah.
And like the old days, I will have a row of pole positions. Just all 6 of them I will put out together. Absolutely. That's everybody asks, what's your favorite game? I don't have a favorite game. I have 180 favorite games. But pole position is the one that makes me cry the most.
Got it.
Yeah.
Would you flat out put a game that you just not into it?
I'm trying to think if I have any games out that
Every regular requested it.
not into it. What's that?
If every regular requested
If
it.
every regular requested, I probably would specifically not put it out just to piss them off. Yeah, no, I try to give people what they want. I suppose we've got a couple of guys who really love DDR. And we've said no DDR, and you guys have said no DDR. And it's getting harder and harder to turn away that genre of game because there is absolutely an audience out there for it.
Very much so.
And those guys deserve to be serviced because that was a bona fide thing that kept arcades going for a window of time.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if I'm the guy to do it. And like you said earlier, each of us has a thing, and maybe there's a guy out there, one of us, that wants to be the one that has that thing because there's certainly room for it.
Yeah, we've had people say that it's like with DDR and Big Buck Hunter and they
Golden
are
Tee is
Golden
in there too,
Tee,
yeah.
and it's like that is all part of the history of arcade gaming. It's like if there weren't those games, who knows where it would be at. Like it needed the Big Buck Hunters, it needed all the racing games and shooting games and DDRs to perpetuate it and keep it going. So it's nothing against those games or the people that are like Todd. Todd's a huge DDR player, like loves it, and it is just it is a different style. Basically, it's a whole different crowd. So
yeah, I have a lot of people who want us to put it in the basement, and that's a justifiable request. I'm not really there with the putting games in the basement yet. The village has made that something of a challenge for us, and really, we're hovering just under that 200 game mark, and it's not me by myself, but it is me by myself most of the time, and it's all I can do to keep the games we have running. So trying to add in a whole nother floor of games would be, I think, a challenge that I would not be able to do by myself at the rate we do.
yeah,
And 100% when I ask people, would you like to pay more for another floor of games? They're like, no, we're kind of happy with what we're paying. I'm like, yeah, I figured, and that's why there's no games for you to play in the basement.
Do you have any cocktails?
I have 2 cocktail games that are out. We have Kicks in a Cocktail and Super Pac-Man a Cocktail.
Cool.
And they're out there. They've been out there for more than a year, but they're probably out there on a temporary basis. Getting away from the standard stand-up game has been kind of a challenge. We took our stools out a little while ago because one of the rules that we had was you couldn't take a stool in the pinball room, and we did that because we only have 15 pinball machines, and if I allow someone to go in and squat on a game, they're going to squat on it all day. And every time we let somebody have a stool in the pinball room, that's exactly what they do. And it's like, I'm glad you're comfortable and you're enjoying the game, but the 200 other people that wanted to play that game didn't get to play it because you hogged it. And how we're going to stay away from that is no stools. We added a couple of church pews now. We've got where people can sit down. We've got some booths that we got that were awesome from Jeremy Prince that we've got so you can sit at and enjoy your drinks because, we don't allow the drinks by the games. We've got bar height tables. So we've got all sorts of places where you can kind of chill out and you don't have to, you can rest, right? A lot of the folks are at an age where they need to take a break for a minute. So we've got a place where they can comfortably do that and then they can get back into the game when they're ready. But yeah, so we have the 2 cocktail games. I have both those games in stand-ups at this point, so they are going to, the cocktails will rotate out, and then everything will be stand-up. I probably won't have the cocktails with the exception of the one Nintendo Space Invaders. What the heck was it called? I don't remember.
Space Fever?
Is that it? Yeah, Space Fever.
High Splitter or
High
whatever?
Splitter, that's
Yeah.
it. Yes, that, unless I can take that board out and probably get it into an upright, that will stay in the cocktail. And maybe we'll have it over as the table for the booths.
Cool.
We'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll see.
Shout out to Outworld. Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, we are joined today by Scott Lambert of the Underground Retrocade out in West Dundee. A phenomenal
That's us.
arcade. Make sure you check out their Facebook and Instagram and follow them. Scott runs a great arcade out there. He's 200 machines now.
Not quite.
Just
We're 185 plus or minus depending on which game wants to give me a hard time on that particular day. I've got probably 300 games total, so I have lots of projects, lots of things yet to release.
Wait, how many did you say?
We got 300 games.
I think you said 2,300.
Oh, that'd be something, wouldn't it? That might almost come close to yours.
Yeah.
Almost, not quite. Yeah, no, it's more. I've got so many projects to play with, so there's always something where we're getting ready to bring it out or bring it back.
Is there any one game that if you could have it on the floor right now that you don't currently have?
Besides pole position?
Besides.
Yeah. A lot of people, and we've talked about, a lot of people have been asking for stupid bicycle game. Paperboy?
Paperboy?
Yeah.
Pricey.
And we've stayed away from the Atari games because they have those medium res monitors, and those are a challenge. And we're back. It takes it right back to making sure that the game is always there and enjoyable for someone. I have 2 APBs actually. In order to have an APB out working, I have to have 2, right? So I have 2 of them, and even APB, we've taken off the floor because it's not quite stable enough for people to play every day.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have a Paperboy out there. If I had $5,000 burning a hole in my pocket, I might consider getting one of those brand new ones. But I don't want to say never. It's a game certainly that people had asked for, and I was like, that stupid bicycle game, because I was already out of the arcades by the time it came out. It held no interest for me, and I had played it once or twice here with you before people started asking for it. I'm like, yeah, stupid bicycle game, and I would move on. But then as people kept hammering about it, when are you going to get? I came to your place and specifically sat on it for a while and got to know it. It's like, yeah, I can see where people can enjoy this game. So it's on if we find it and we find the right deal and it's good and solid, we'll make it happen. But that hasn't happened yet. It'll happen someday, I'm sure.
The original Sega Hang-On cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have one?
I have an original Sega Hang-On, and I have the Super Hang-On. Super Hang-On is the one we have out. Regular Hang-On we have in the back. In instances where you've got a game where there's not tremendous differences between iterations, we'll probably only put one of those iterations out. Or like with Asteroids, for example. I have an Asteroids and I have an Asteroids Deluxe. But I don't have both of them out because giving up that floor space just doesn't make sense, or having to power and keep a monitor going and all that overhead. It's like, you know what? Asteroids is out there, and if you hit player 1, player 2 start, lo and behold, you'll be able to play Asteroids Deluxe. Hit it again, you can play Lunar Lander. It doesn't give you the booster nozzle, but it's a playable game.
Mm-hmm.
It's something. It isn't everything. If they want to come play the real thing with a real booster handle, you've got that need met. When I want to do it, I come and play yours. Or I play mine. I actually, of the stuff I have at home, I have Asteroids Deluxe Cocktail at home. And it has
nice.
that same chipset in it, so I can play Lunar Lander at home. In the 5 minutes that I'm actually at my house, that I'm not at my arcade, maybe I turn that guy on.
Is like having an arcade, like obviously you're seeing new people, you're seeing the returning players. The community that gets built, and you've built a phenomenal community.
I've been there to provide the platform on which that community has built itself.
Well, and
I can't take credit for it. We've got so many amazing people that throw a hand in and make it a cool place to be.
but
It's that.
there's definitely places that we've seen in the past and even recently that they open and close, and it's because the person running it either doesn't fully get it or isn't willing to join the community, and like it's you're a definite factor in it. Like you are known and people ask about you, and
Yikes.
it's
Stalkers.
there's the arcade owners that they definitely play a big part in it, I would say. Like the community forms, but
The successful owners seem to have the passion, and they have the temperament, and maybe they have a plan or a way to engage people who fit together well, or maybe they're just lucky. It's not like I went out and picked the guys that have become the bedrock of the community in my arcade, but I don't think I could be luckier to find those kind of people, because they kept us alive.
yeah.
I mean, even when we had to go underground for the 3 months in between locations, they were right there cheering us on. They come out and play the games, and they gave me the incentive to get back at it, because I certainly could have just said, you know what, it's just going to be too much. We already spent a year doing this, and now I got to start from scratch. I don't think so, but everybody wanted it, so away we went.
Well, and that in itself is such a testament to what you do, that like from the business side, it probably fiscally would have been better to be like, okay, that was fun.
Yeah, but there's an interesting experiment, but no more throwing money at it. But
Yeah, but
it's hard to resist.
You went back and you rebuilt and have thrived and grown and keep going. Like that says a huge thing about your passion for the scene, and it's something that you see places that become stagnant and they just kind of, we're open the door and whatever. But you're there, you're growing it, you're fixing stuff. Like even the maintenance side, that was one of the huge downfalls of arcades, with not keeping up on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, again, every time I go in, it seems like it's a top priority. And it's one of those, the foundation of making a great arcade, which you've done. It's one of those things that I think you have to realize, that what people are going to, the fact that you can keep it open for as many years as you've kept it open, it's you. Like people have to be very thankful and grateful to what you've built up, and you've got so many loyal people that go. So
Well, if they're grateful, I certainly appreciate it. I'm grateful that they make it possible for me to do that sort of thing every day. I mean, we've always said, any day that you can end an arcade is a great day.
absolutely.
And that's what we've done.
Has there been any standout events that like you've run, or moments, people coming in that have just been like, wow, that's why I do this?
We get that almost every week. Somebody comes in, hasn't been out, they're seeing us for the first time, and really they're seeing the games for the first time in 30 years. And you get that moment where it's not, the 40-year-old or 50-year-old dude standing there. It's his 12-year-old self. And, all the layers of the onion have peeled off, and there's the root of the person who enjoyed things at that time. And they get that. They get it back for their visit. That's what makes it worth it.
Yeah. How long do you think it'll go?
Boy, I hope it goes on for a long time, because I still got to pay for all these games. Yeah, I don't know. We've talked before about, can it come around full cycle? And I wasn't so sure. And you're like, oh yeah, you're like, you had the faith, and I'm like, okay, if you got the faith, I'll have the faith. And I've got kids that came out that were probably middle school kids when we were first getting going, and now they're back and they're adults, and they're mid-20s. They're bringing their friends back, and it's the way that I came back as an adult to re-enjoy my childhood. They're coming back to enjoy that childhood the same way, 30, 40 years apart. So there are multiple generations that perpetuate. If they want to come play the games, we will have the games for them to play.
Was it a concern, like, about it when you were opening? Like, did you think kids would get it?
I didn't even really plan for kids to get it, and I didn't really expect it to go this long. When I did the business plan, I did it as get in, get the job done, and have an exit strategy. And we never had to go that deep into the business plan because it just keeps getting better every year. More people come, we can get more games. More games, more fun. More pizza. Oh boy, how did that go? Something like that. Yeah, forget the pizza. Somebody came in, they're like, you could put pizza in the basement. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this huge pizza place opened up next door that you walked past to get in.
But you could do it.
I could make pizza in the arcade. More often than not, when somebody comes in for the first time, you see their nostrils flare, and they're like, that smell. The ozone and a little bit of mustiness. I mean, that's that arcade smell.
Is that mustiness from the wood, I think?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
And we probably don't get it that often anymore because we're imbued in it all the time. But boy, somebody new gets it, they usually will say, oh, it's my grandparents' basement. Or, they make that sound. I'm like, do you want to eat pizza in here, man? Because some of that smell is mold. You don't want to eat a pizza in here.
Mm-hmm.
So, there you go. The guys next door that came to do pizza really do an amazing product. So we're super happy to have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get pizza from them ourselves all the time. It's so good. And you go eat the pizza, and you come play some games. You go back, eat a little more pizza, or you go down to a bar and have a drink. And you come back and play the games, and the games are there. They're clean. There aren't people around you that are dropping pizza on them or spilling their beer on them. It's just you can enjoy the game for what it is. That's what we focus on.
I like that separation.
Mm-hmm. It makes it a lot easier for us, that's for sure.
I know we have
close.
We're getting close. It's like 3:50.
If you're just joining us, we are joined by Scott Lambert of the Underground Retrocade out in West Dundee. Amazing arcade. 185 machines, free play, open every day.
Every day except.
Except?
You guys are every day. We take Thanksgiving Day off, Christmas Day off, Easter off. We take that Sunday. And I think this year might be the first year in many that we might close on the 4th of July. Prior years, I would go by myself on the 4th of July, bring my dog in, and we would sit there and do the thing so he wouldn't have to be afraid of the fireworks. But we don't have that this year, so maybe I'll go with my family to go do what they do on the 4th that I haven't done for 5 years, 6 years. I'll join them for another day a year. I see my family 4 days a year.
It does kind of consume.
It does. It does. It was a lot easier early on because we were all there together at the arcade. But my kids started. My oldest was in high school at the time, and now he's married and has a kid, so he's not at the arcade so much. My middle one is off in college, so he's not at the arcade so much. My daughter's not quite at that age yet where it's important for her to earn the money to drive a car, so she doesn't quite have the motivation to be at the arcade yet. So right now it's just me, and we get the job done. I hope. If people are enjoying it, then we're getting the job done. If not, let us know what we can do different, and we'll try and do better.
They definitely seem to be enjoying it. There's some of those arcades out there. You hear I went to this place, and it's everybody has always been nothing but praise. So
we certainly appreciate that.
Definitely.
When are we going out again? It's been a while since we've been there.
It has been far too long. It has.
I went there last year after my surgery, and I couldn't last that long. I just had endurance issues, standing. But I want to go back.
With Prince Arcades and Yeti opening and Pixel Blast and Star Worlds and so many places to check out.
You got to make those rounds.
Yeah, I think
it's hard because we're always at our places keeping stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
it's the commitment. It's a huge commitment. So I know everybody in the arcade scene thanks you for what you do, and helping elevate the community up and up and up.
Thanks for letting us do it.
So,
Certainly an honor.
Any final questions for Scott?
You have questions.
Is that a question for me, or is that a question for you?
Crazy question. Delaware
Yeah.
Pinball asking, how do you turn a profit with just a small entrance fee?
You don't? Eat cat food. You don't need that much profit if you don't spend it. You might have a different problem.
You don't have to spend it. What do you mean? It's did you ever consider going with the not free play, the pay per play model?
Never considered that. In Illinois, as you know, the sticker price per game makes having a large inventory of games almost impossible. And add to that the fact that trying to make CoinMex work,
It's a
it's
pain.
just-
It's an extra point of failure.
yeah, I mean, I need like 6 techs
Yeah.
to keep the games up just for the stupid CoinMex. So it's far easier to just say, just give me a couple of bucks and go do your thing. Does that mean that I can't let somebody in play one game of Pac-Man? Yeah, sorry. This is for people who love it and really want to live it.
Yeah.
If it's just you just want one game of Pac-Man, you have a million ways to get that.
Yeah.
But if you want the real thing and you want to get immersed in it, come and get immersed in it. Come spend the day. We're set up for you to spend the day.
It's awesome.
Yep.
It's awesome. Well, I know you have to get
I
back.
probably do.
It is about 7:02. So,
All right.
all right. Well, thanks to Scott Lambert for joining us. We'll keep it going for a little bit with just me and Pete.
Bring
I
back
guess.
my alter ego.
Oh, we could.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you, Scott
it.
Lambert again. Underground
Thanks-
Retrocade
thanks for coming on.
on West
Oh,
Dundee.
you bet. Thank you.
you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome
Anytime.
seeing you as
We
always.
will see you guys. And I'll keep watching on my way home because, that's okay. I can drive and watch this. I'll see you guys.
Thank you, man.
Don't be typing in the chat though.
No.
Yeah.
Did we lose it? Did I
No,
take it
no,
out?
we're still good.
Duct tape? We should tape this.
So-
Well, it's there just for Thursday, or just
Oh.
for Wednesday and Thursday.
A couple of black clips on the seal?
Yeah, that's probably better.
I'll see you guys.
See ya, man. So yeah, the Scott Lambert again, Underground Retrocade out in West Dundee. It is really one of those arcades that I check on them, and it's like every time we've gone out there, it's like, man, everything is looking great.
Yeah, place looks nice.
The presentation there, everything's clean. Like cabinet fronts are clean. It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. We definitely need to go back out soon.
Yeah. So there's a couple of questions that
Yeah.
weren't directed at Scott that we kind of passed over.
All right, let's go back and answer those. If you've got questions, we'll cover a few things. We've had so much going on here at the arcade and productions and reproductions and pinball and the garage and
What else?
gambling. Not much going on with gambling.
Yeah, you had a.
And we'll bring Ken Walker on too. Ask him some pinball stuff too.
So there's a question earlier from Outworld for you, Doc. Looks like
Yes.
a friend of mine, a friend of Outworld's, is a huge Tattoo Assassins fan. Do you remember picking yours up and posting the restoration on Facebook?
Outworld, absolutely. Picking up the Tattoo Assassins machine was extremely memorable. The whole thing to it was just so incredible. It was. I went out with. I was going out to pick up a Raiden cabinet that I saw on Craigslist. Raiden 2, non-working, and just thought it was just some random guy.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't. He had like 3 or 4 cabinets, and it was actually Daniel Kramer, who's now going to be opening up Select Arcade very soon. So it's interesting, multi-layered story. But we went out there to look at one game, and it was I brought Jeremy Fox of Prince Arcades with me. And he's like, "Oh, you're getting this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's looking around, and Jeremy's just kind of off doing whatever. And I'm talking with Dan, and he's like, "Oh, I've got some more games if you want to go to take a little drive."
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yeah, I want to see more games. Let's go check them out." So we went, and he had more games, and it was like, wow, this is a pretty good selection. Like, and it's like, oh, I'd take that and that and that and that and that and that. And he's like, oh, you guys you're a serious buyer here. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm into buying whatever. Yeah, and he's like, oh, the guy who owns all these, his name is Dale. He's like, I can take you out and you can meet him. He's got a lot more games. And I'm seeing good stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinets and Open Ice, and I was like, okay, these are getting better. It's like playing a video game. You start at the low tier stuff and you work your way up to the final boss. We get there and there's just like cabinets in the driveway, stuff underneath tarps, and you look under the tarp. There's a Turtles in Time, and it's like, wow, this is. Look in the garage. There's a Q*bert, and it's like, okay, this is getting really interesting. We went and talked to Dale, who's been in op forever. Amazing guy. Like, so many stories. I hope we have him here on the podcast because this guy's seen it all, and great guy. And it's a whole layer of gaming that doesn't get enough coverage. So we'll have him out hopefully. But then we were looking at all these, there's tents and trailers, and we're going through it. And when you're out collecting and like looking for games, you never know what you're going to find. And we're looking in some of these tents, and the tents are looking pretty rough. It's like holes in the tents, and raccoons have been in there. So
water's getting in?
Water's getting in, and we look in this one tent, and I'm like, oh, what is this? What is this game? It's like I've never seen it. It was kind of Midway style cabinet, and it's, even though they're in rough shape, it's like I have to. It doesn't matter how dirty the thing is. I got to go in and see what it is. And I saw that corner of the side art. And I'm like, oh my god, it's a Tattoo Assassins. And Jeremy was joking around. He's like, oh yeah, there's gonna be like this holy grail in there, and there it was. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, I need to get this. And it was in. We weren't sure of the condition at that point because it was kind of buried, but everything else that we were able to see in there was looking pretty rough. And T20 was going on. It was T20 weekend.
Oh man!
Or was it Battle of the Arcades?
I don't remember.
I want to say it was Battle of the Arcades, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. He was like, I can't sell it to you today because I promised somebody else.
Oh no.
And it was Saturday that we had to go back. And I'm talking with Dale. I'm like, Dale, here's the story on this game. Super rare. I'd love to put it on the floor so everybody can see it and play it. I won't resell it. It'll be here. People will enjoy it. And he liked that. He's like, this other guy doesn't care. He wants other games. So we ended up with it. Mm-hmm. We pulled it out. It was the one thing that wasn't trashed in that building, in that tent. And it was just so incredible. Brought it back. It actually still fired up. Ended up changing the power supply and working on the monitor a little bit, but just absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. And so super rare. And have talked to Joe Kamikow, who worked on it, and a lot of stories behind that game. So
this Outworld person in chat is saying that he did a 3D modeling it to put it into Half-Life maps.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's our cabinet that's in his maps.
Really?
So
that's awesome.
He said he'd send you some pictures.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Or post them on our Facebook group, please. That would be
cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, if you're not already, join Galloping Ghost Productions. It's more of a community focused group. There's our regular Galloping Ghost arcade page, but then look up Productions. I'll post a link in our chat. If you're not joined that, please do. It's a little more laid back. Not just announcements about the arcade from us. It's a community interaction thing as well. Oh, there we go.
Shout outs to Trickman Terry of Pixel Blast out in Lisle.
So yeah, please join us on there. We'll add you to the group if you just are in there.
And Jefferson Taylor, thank you all for joining us. We are now joined by Ken Walker, Master
everybody.
Tech
There
at Galloping Ghost Pinball.
you go.
Helps us out so often with. Twitter's good too.
Yeah, we don't update our Twitter
Instagram?
quite as much, but Instagram is seeing more action from us lately. So I'll drop those links in the stream chat.
Excellent. Thank you, Ken. Again, pretty much any time you're here, I need to take a second and thank you for all your efforts in
Of course.
helping with Galloping Ghost Pinball. And pinball is a tricky, technical thing, and we could not do it without you. So we appreciate all your help. And
For me, it's good therapy.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't have a particularly stressful job, but I have had some pretty stressful jobs in the past, and come here, fix a couple of games, play a couple of games, because you got to test what you just fixed, and it's good therapy.
Nice.
it's awesome. It's awesome. Well, I definitely want to have you back for your own full podcast.
Definitely. In fact, the only reason I wanted to come back and hijack this one, awesome interview with Scott, by the way.
Thank you. It was. Scott's
yeah,
always great to talk
Great
to.
interviewer. There's a couple of tournaments coming up in the local Chicago area that I
Okay.
wanted to kind of direct everybody's attention to. If you go to ifpapinball.com, putting it up here in the
I'll give you a link.
link here. Go to the tournaments section and the calendar. And it's right. Tournaments are right there. And so, if you go there, put in the zip code and narrow the radius down to about 20, 30 miles, and the four tournaments coming up in the next week and 2-3 weeks. So Brixie's, actually before that, there's a tournament at Logan Arcade coming up on Sunday. Brixie's is this coming Tuesday. And then on the 28th, there's a tournament at ORD Pinball in Elk Grove Village. And then on the 29th, we're having a Flip Frenzy here.
Yes.
It's
Anxious
Sunday
for that.
evening. So a lot of good stuff coming up. The Illinois championships are happening in January, so there's still time to get a lot of IFPA Whopper points for that. And that's about it.
Delaware Pinball loves those flip frenzies.
Yeah, they're fun. They're a lot of fun. You play a lot of pinball in a relatively short amount of time, and
What is
play
what
with-
is the format for that tournament? If you don't, sorry for interrupting there.
Not at all. Flip Frenzy, we call it the speed dating of pinball. And so there's a software that we use. It's a external software link, and it's matchplay.events. And there's a Flip Frenzy tournament. You put all the players in, you put all the games in, and then hit the go button, and it just starts matching people up player to player. You play a game, and it just comes up with wins and losses, and that determines your position. And it's a lot of fun because you play a lot of pinball. It's not like some tournaments where you pay your entry fee, you
Wait.
get eliminated, and you're gone.
Yeah.
Or you wait around too long. This one's pretty fast paced. The queue we keep pretty small.
Yeah.
And we just had one on Halloween, which was a lot of fun. And all of them have been great.
Cool.
So it's a good format for here. We've got a lot of games. People don't want to spend a ton of time, so it's also nice because some tournaments are good and they're a lot of fun, but you never know when they're going to end. Flip Frenzy is a set time, so from 6 to 9, it's a 3-hour tournament. So at 9 o'clock, that's it, we're done. So it's a lot of fun. But all the formats are a lot of fun.
Nice.
Very cool. So definitely, if you have questions for Ken, throw them in the stream chat. A couple of things I wanted to cover this weekend. This Saturday, we have our big swap meet,
Yes.
arcade and video game swap meet, happening right here at Galloping Ghost the productions offices, which is 2 blocks east of the arcade, right next door to Galloping Ghost Pinball. And you can park in the big lot, and free to get into the swap meet. We have a ton of vendors. We are going all out with, we've got a lot of PCBs. We're going to be set up to test and looking to move a lot of our spare double boards, and we've got some cabinets, some a lot of artwork, a lot of stuff from reproductions.
Is that something you want to show right now?
Yeah, we have. So, well,
We'll get to it.
well
Let's
we,
not.
we
okay.
are very, very honored to be hosting 3 legends of the industry at this swap meet. We're going to be having Brian Colin, International Video Game Hall of Famer Brian Colin, who has his own section of games at Underground Retrocade, no less, and at our place as well.
Mm-hmm.
A few sections. He's worked on games like Rampage and Discs of Tron and Spy Hunter, Sarge, Xenophobe, Arch Rivals, Pigskin, a long, long list of amazing games. Brian will be here. We got to work with him with Galloping Ghost Productions and his company Game Refuge on the at the time unreleased Lost Laserdisc game that we restored and put back out in arcades called Spectre Files Deathstalkers. He will be here with his artwork. Such an amazing art style, very instantly recognizable. We also have Paul Niemeyer, who is the...
We've had him on a couple times now.
We did 2 podcasts. We need to have him back out because we have much more to talk with Paul on. Great interview. Make sure you check those out on YouTube.
Yeah, they're on our YouTube channel.
On YouTube. Paul Niemeyer, artist. He worked on Satan's Hollow. He did the Mortal Kombat logo. He's got prototype artwork of the Mortal Kombat art, and he's going to be selling his artwork here. He's worked on a lot of great games. Doing cabinet art.
Mm-hmm.
It's just phenomenal. And then we have Jack Hager, who is not been out. He's been in the arcade a couple of times. He will be here. He doesn't make very many appearances, and he's been coming out more. He's created games like Carnival. He worked on Narc. He worked on Joust 2. He worked on
If you didn't see this,
If you didn't see this,
I can just
it was,
slide back.
it was on our Monday stream.
On Sinistar.
I am Sinistar.
And we have these prints. This was the original painting. He had this. He had the original in his office since 1983, and he brought it down to bring it to the arcade a while back, and we were able to convince him to let us do some prints of him, which he has signed. He's signed very few. These are going to be $35. If you want one, call the arcade or email Galloping Ghost Reproductions.
Will they be at the swap meet?
He will be at the swap meet. He's going to sign a few more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, he's got since we've been talking to him, we've got some really amazing things coming with both him and Paul. And
Yeah, I can't wait to meet him. That's
he's
really cool.
awesome guy. Awesome.
I love
guy.
this game. I love Sinistar.
This artwork.
Sinistar loves you.
I know.
Yeah, it's War Games Media saying, I wish I was in Illinois to catch all this. Travel in. We get people that travel in all the time. Like
Out of state, out of country, everywhere.
Yeah. It's let us know you're coming. We'll make sure we have some of these. We're so fortunate to have so many of the industry people around, and they're always happy to stop by and meet with fans and sign some autographs. So this Saturday, I'm super excited for it. So don't miss the swap meet. You posted the links in there.
Yep.
So
I put the event page link, and I also just posted the general description because some people just aren't on Facebook, and I get that.
for sure.
But the general gist is at our productions office, 9221 Ogden Avenue. The event opens to the public at 11 a.m. and we'll be here till about 6. And
Awesome.
come on out. Yeah, lots of vendors, local vendors, industry vets, like Doc already said, and we'll have a ton of our stuff. He said, a ton of our PCBs, and
you'll be here.
yes,
him.
of course.
Pete setting his 100th world record. Congratulations for that. That is, I don't know how you achieved the unachievable accomplishment of that.
Thank you.
But congratulations, and no question why you were inducted into the International Video Game Hall of Fame. That is amazing. So congratulations.
Yeah,
and
thank you. I was really happy with my new Black Tiger score. That Black Tiger was 100th, so
yeah,
it was a good one to do it on.
Amazing game,
Yeah.
and congratulations.
Thank you.
So, Also, I want to take a second to give yet another shout out to Carrie Cheney and Ray Fransnell. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. They drove out from Ohio last Saturday. Carrie Cheney, former arcade owner, amazing guy, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in the arcade scene, and traveled in to. Ray was selling us Journey. He wanted it to go to a place where everybody would play it. It was easily the most requested game that
Yes.
we have here at the arcade. So very happy to have that here now. Every week people would bring it up. So
Pretty much, yeah.
huge shout outs to Carrie and Ray for making everybody here happy. So, but unless there's anything else, any more questions
There
in
were
the
a
stream
couple
chat?
questions. We scroll up
Scroll
on
up
Twitch.
on Twitch.
Yeah. Right there, Minimal Noir asks,
Oh.
I see a ton of pinball games, and I'm wondering if more arcade games exist or pinball games, since pinball is older. Do you know how many video games there are?
If you count just the what are those ones from Japan with the big keyboard things?
There's more Mahjong games
Mahjong.
than there are pinball games.
Probably.
Okay.
Like, it depends on...
Yeah, I guess it depends
What
on
you
how
call a
you...
game.
I guess what I
Yeah.
was thinking was more of the Americana arcade back in the day.
It's
I'll
hard
tell
to
you what
say.
pinball
Like,
is. I got bored one day, and I went on the Internet Pinball Database,
Yeah.
and there's about 6,200 pin games.
And there's probably more pinballs than video.
You know, but a
In
lot
that
of the
sense.
pins are true pinball, what we call bagatelle or pure mechanical. They're gambling machines. Some of the patents go back to the 1800s, and the 1930s saw a huge increase in these pin games, and they'd cost a penny or they'd cost a nickel. And so there were tons of companies. I think there were at one point over 100 pinball manufacturers.
Yeah.
Maybe they only built one or two games, but they were in business from 1933, 1937. The Depression did some of them in. Mayor LaGuardia did some of them in when he was destroying pinball machines. So knowing the owner of the pinball database, he's pretty thorough.
Yeah.
So right around 6,200. But if you're talking about that whole number, a lot of them don't even have any kind of electronics or electrical connections in them. Some of the earliest ones ran on batteries. So, and then there's stuff that isn't even listed on that site.
Sure.
That were like home brews. People just saying, "Hey, I want to make one and put it in my bar and earn money."
Like there, if you look on like Maine, I know at one point there was just thousands,
Couple
and thousands.
thousand,
A lot of clones, a lot of
variants.
With all the
regional-
clones, it's like 30,000 plus.
Yeah,
It's gotta be.
You'll have
it's-
Tempest, but then you'll have Tempest Tubes, which was like a one-off thing, but people are converting.
Sure. So
Do you
it's-
count it? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Who knows?
It's
Who knows?
that depending on what some people say is does it count?
Yeah. The other question is, are you in on Rick and Morty Pinball? Spooky Pinball just announced that on like a sneaky post on Facebook on Sunday.
Yes.
We haven't even talked about it. It's only Wednesday, but Rick and Morty is a theme that I know very little about. But the people who are into the clone or the cult following is what I meant to say. I don't know. We haven't talked about it.
I know people. I'm right now not looking at getting one. Pinball is definitely very different as far as the buying side of it. The games, there's a definite theme over there. Not that I am ever ruling any game out, but currently it's not on my list to get. But who knows? Who knows?
No one ever knows.
You got to remember that Brixies is down the street too.
Right.
Brixies gets a lot of new games.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
For a while I wanted Sword of Rage,
Yeah.
one of Scott's favorite games, the one he says gets played a lot. Be great if we got it, but you know what? I'll probably just go to Underground Retrocade and play it,
There you
and
go.
I know that Logan has one. So,
Yeah.
there's machines like that, the latest and greatest. Usually there are 1 or 2 copies floating around in the Chicago area. So I'm never pressuring Doc to say, you got to get this. This has to happen. Because I'm the type of person that wants to put about 20 games on it before I start even having an initial opinion on it. So until I play it, till I see it, I'm interested. People are freaking out over it. But
What is your favorite game at Galloping Ghost Pinball?
favorite game
At GGA Pinball and overall, or GGP?
So overall, I have to give a shout out to my son Andrew. Twilight Zone is always my go-to answer for that. I also like Lord of the Rings. I won't get into why Twilight Zone, but Twilight Zone it broadened my horizon. I was always a video game guy. I like playing pinball, but when the 80s hit, man, I got hooked on video games. But Twilight Zone had a depth and a level I didn't understand. Once I looked up the game and the rule set, I was hooked. It was amazing. My favorite game at Galloping Ghost at the moment at pinball is between Elvira and Dracula.
Which
I played
Elvira?
The Elvira House of
Horrors.
Horrors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now
I'm
running
chasing Maurice's score right now.
0.880 code.
8 code, yeah.
The newest.
Yeah, the latest.
Keeps getting better.
Yeah, about every week they put out another
Yeah.
variant. So I thought I had it down, and then they changed the code on me, and I don't know how to get back onto the Santa Claus mode. It's gone now. We'll
You'll
see.
find it.
I'll
You'll
find it.
Unless there's any more questions, I think we will be wrapping it up. We will definitely be having Ken Walker back soon, I hope.
Will we have Scott Lambert introduce before he comes on?
That'd be great.
Who knows? Who knows?
People have to rewind to understand that joke if they
Yes.
came in late.
Yes.
Unless Pete did anything else to cover?
No, not really. Just see everyone at the swap meet. Obviously catch us next Monday on the mystery game. If you don't, if you don't tune in every Monday we do our mystery stream. So I know if you're a regular, if you want to follow us, we'll let you know when we go live. It's usually before 5 p.m. on Mondays. So.
Game 746.
Yes.
Yep, 46. How'd you know?
I watch every Monday.
Dang.
Usually at work, sometimes on the train. Sometimes I leave work early, like I did today. Don't tell anybody.
Awesome. Well, again, I hope to see everybody at the swap meet. Again, don't forget, if you are interested in the Jack Hager autographed Sinistar posters, don't miss those.
Get them at the swap meet.
Get them at the swap meet or order them. Give the arcade a call or email reproductions@gallopingghost.com.
Is it for sale on the Reproductions website?
It is not posted on there yet,
Okay.
but they can email you and set something up.
Cool.
So until Saturday or Monday or next Wednesday or whenever. Thanks everybody for former Gamer of the Year Pete Hahn and Master Tech Ken Walker. This is Doc Mack from the Galloping Ghost Arcade, and we hope to see you around the arcade soon.
See
Thanks
you,
a lot,
everybody.
everybody.
See ya.